Tonight, Manitoba Métis Federation President David Chartrand sets out his organization's election priorities.
The economy is not doing very well right now. A lot of people are out of jobs and stuff, and they can't afford their medication and stuff, so they need better pharmacare too to get their medications.
And hear about a Métis candidate who wants to turn a blue riding orange. Good evening and welcome to APTN National News. I'm Daryl Stranger. Conservative Party candidates swept Alberta in the 2019 federal election, with one exception. The NDP won a single seat in Edmonton-Strathcona. Now, a Métis candidate in the Edmonton-Manning riding wants to add to that total. APTN's Chris Stewart has more.
I can't stress more that we need more Métis and Indigenous representatives in all levels of government. We need to be represented by everybody in this community. So I see myself as a voice for my Métis community.
Charmaine St. Germain is running in the Edmonton-Manning riding for the NDP. The area is northeast of the city with a population of about 121,000. 7% of the population identifies as Indigenous. St. Germain is not new to campaigning. She came in third during the 2019 election. This time around, people are worried about paying for their medication.
Pharmacare. I'm hearing that as a top issue at the door. I'm hearing our seniors especially, they're going to pharmacies, paying for their prescriptions with pennies and nickels. And our seniors shouldn't even have to worry about that. People shouldn't have to worry about deciding whether they're paying for their prescriptions or paying for rent or food.
She's been knocking on doors and talking to voters.
The economy is not doing very well right now. A lot of people are out of jobs and stuff, and they can't afford their medication and stuff, so they need better pharmacare too to get their medications.
Carm Ryan agrees that pharmacare is a top issue.
They've done fairly okay, in my opinion. Okay, they've done fairly okay, right? But we still want to see more.
Obi Ogu says the coronavirus is his top concern, and he says the Liberal government could have done a better job. St. Germain says that she can win this time around, now that people know her better.
I definitely have more resources, more volunteers, and people like on the doorsteps, they're frustrated with Trudeau. So I'm hearing that, and I seem to be the progressive choice for them.
In 2019, 10 Indigenous candidates in Canada became members of Parliament. St. Germain wants that number to grow, especially in Alberta. She lost to Conservative Party candidate Ziad Abdeltaif by a comfortable margin.
Economy. The economy is number one issue. People are worried about the inflation. They're worried about the cost of living is increasing. Of course, they're worried about the housing pricing, although in Alberta, compared to the other part of the country, we still manage, but people are very worried about the economy, about the future.
Abdeltaif says the economy is top of mind for voters he has spoken to. But Carm Ryan says she will be voting for Charmaine St. Germain.
Because she stands up for Indigenous people and she stands up for what's right. And during the pandemic, Jagmeet stood up for all the workers and stuff and brought back CRB for people that weren't working.
Though Abdeltaif says he and the Conservatives will implement the recommendations from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
Are taking this matter very seriously because practically I came from the business world, and I know that if things has to be done, it has to be done, and we must be serious about doing that.
Donalyn Smith is representing the Liberals in the riding. It will be a race to watch. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
The Skeena-Bulkley Valley riding covers northwestern British Columbia. The NDP have held the seat for over 15 years. Candidates shared the changes they hope to make with the federal election fast approaching. APTN's Lee Wilson reports.
The Skeena-Bulkley Valley riding for the federal election is massive. It covers the central coast of BC to Hattagawai, all the way north to the Yukon border. 1/3 of the population is Indigenous, the highest percentage of any riding in the province. Since 2004, the NDP have represented the Northwest in Ottawa. NDP's Taylor Bachrach is the incumbent. Before being elected, he was Mayor Smithers for 8 years. He sees this election as a pivotal moment.
Big issues like the climate crisis, like the residential schools issue and the need for reconciliation, and the fact that in many ways Canada is a more unequal country than it's ever been before. And we have this opportunity to strengthen our public services, strengthen our healthcare system. The pandemic has showed us how important it is that we pull together as a community.
Backrack was in Kitimat for a ceremony. The fire department raised an orange and white flag in honor of Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Day. He said he's been talking with elders and communities that believe it is time for action from the federal government.
They really feel like we're at a turning point. We're at this point in time when there's a great awakening, and they want to see it backed up with action.
Backrack says the NDP have a plan to address the findings of the residential school unmarked graves with funding and supports.
The first thing that we hear from people is they want all of the children found and brought home. So that's our commitment, is to bring all the resources of the federal government to bear, to search all of the school sites in partnership with communities, and to bring those children home to their homes.
Adina Young is the Indigenous candidate for the Green Party. She is a member of the Haida Nation and spent 10 years involved locally on Haida Gwaii. She served there as a council member and most recently as a school board trustee. Young felt the Green Party gave her the best chance to provide a voice to all of the people in the riding.
And with the Green Party, I can come and say, at the national level, that's not going to work in the Skeena-Bulkley Valley riding. How do we fix this? How do we work together to ensure that the constituents in this riding are being treated and being accommodated to equally the same way other ridings across the nation are being accommodated?
Young believes in Indigenous and non-Indigenous people working together to tackle the climate crisis by expanding renewable energy projects.
We should resist all attempts to expand, encourage, or facilitate fossil fuel consumption, and welcome all attempts to expand, encourage, and facilitate renewable energy consumption.
Adina Young says it's important to honor the richness of Indigenous culture and the resources such as salmon and trees, but also honoring and listening to the concerns of the people who count on those natural resources for jobs.
Being able to come in and be a collaborative voice with the people who are going to be directly affected by the transitions that need to be made in this climate crisis is, that is what is important to me. That is what helped me decide how I want to move from local government to federal government.
An all-candidates debate is set to take place on September 7th at 7 p.m. The event is closed to the public due to COVID-19 concerns, but will be streamed live. Lee Wilson, APTN National News, Kitimat.
The Manitoba Métis Federation has laid out its priorities for this federal election. 15 key items have been identified by the MMF that include the Métis Nation, social development, and economic participation. For more, we're joined by MMF President David Chartrand. President Chartrand, thanks for being with us. There are a lot of priority items for the MMF. One of the big ones is recognition, and that includes a commitment to honor the so-called modern-day treaty signed early this summer with the Liberals and provide funding to the tune of $30 million a year. Do you see this as the #1 priority for the MMF with whoever forms government?
Well, for us, the #1 priority is the land claim. Of course, it's a major victory. Took us 32 years in the courts to achieve that, and we finally were able to clearly showcase that Canada did not fulfill its constitutional obligation back in 1870, and that the land that was committed to our children and our families were stolen from us and actually taken from us. And the Supreme Court had made it very clear, in order to fix that, it should be a priority for this country. So I'm looking at the party platforms. I know Jagmeet Singh is committed to it. I know the Justin Trudeau is committed to it. He actually committed to it at our annual assembly. And we're actually started negotiations right now with the land claim. It's very important because it'll set the precedent for the future. and it'll set the preparation for the next generation, economically and socially, and put the tools that's necessary to make sure that people can fulfill their dreams. So that is our number one issue for sure. Of course, the modern day treaty is right up the same level of importance. So we signed our self-government agreement now with Canada. Without question, we are the government of the Métis people now in Manitoba, and the modern day treaty is about 95% finished in its negotiations. Now all we need is a government to ratify it in cabinet.
Can you give us a brief overview of some of the other main priorities?
Well, education, we've heard it loud and clear from our students. We now give, Daryl, one of the things that we've been proud of First Nations' successes in negotiating the ability to get education funds for post-secondary. Many of the First Nations in this country have advanced their generation by getting them their educational accomplishments and getting them into a very fruitful environment economically. So it has been a dream of ours and our families, and now we have a new commitment by Canada, a 10-year commitment for education, for post-secondary education. So we give our students now, there are $5,000 per student going to university to help lower the costs that they'll inherit upon graduation. And we expect to grow that somewhat more in the years to come. But that's a very big priority for many of our young people. Another one's a micro business and small and medium. Indigenous people really don't, and Métis people are very entrepreneurial people. We really don't have big, massive businesses. Our success is in the medium and small. But what we don't see governments traditionally doing in short history, governments tend to go towards a social context of investment versus an economic investment. And you take a theme off the Bible. It says, "I'll feed you a fish." He said, "Don't feed me a fish. Show me how to catch a fish, and I'll feed myself." So that goes to the context, I think, for Indigenous people also. We want, as Métis people, we're entrepreneurial. We've always been. Give us the tools, and we'll take care of ourselves. We'll create the businesses. We have probably in Manitoba alone, Daryl, there's about probably 1,000 Métis businesses. And all of them, again, are medium small. There's very, very few that's large. So when we look at the investments coming from Canada, we want to see a very robust economic investment coming from commitment from the parties.
So it's no secret that Trudeau government has been very good to the MMF. Are you concerned about a new party forming government?
Well, let me say this. They've not only been good to the Métis people, they've been good to First Nation and Inuit in this country. We've never seen, and I've been in politics a long time, and people say, well, David, you're just a liberal. No, I'm not. I supported Brian Mulroney. I'll say it publicly. Joe Clark. So those are people that actually had a lot of respect for the Métis people, as given as our mandate as a Métis government. So when you look at it, Chrétien, I wasn't very close to John Chrétien, but I was close to Paul Martin for one reason alone, because he supported the Métis Nation, and so does Trudeau. And he showed this by putting resources we've never seen in all their history, Daryl. We pay billions of dollars of taxes every year, billions, and we never see them return back to us. And that's the purpose of why we pay taxes. It's supposed to come back to you in some form or another. And we've never seen it generation after generation. Now we've been able to accumulate $3.4 billion commitment from Canada, from under the Trudeau government, for education, economic development, COVID, housing, and on and on and on. So we've made breakthroughs we've never seen in history, and it's making changes, Daryl, that it brought tears to our people's eyes because they've never seen anybody care for them. So I'm looking carefully to all parties. I've written to all parties, waiting for them to give them back with the response. Where do they stand when it comes to Métis? We have 400,000 population in Western Canada, and we do vote, Daryl. We come out in big numbers, and we will come out in big numbers in Manitoba.
And while we have you, President Chartrand, Indigenous leaders are planning to visit the Vatican this December to meet with the Pope about an apology for the Catholic Church's role in the residential school system. Assembly First Nations National Chief Roseanne Archibald says she will not be going on this trip. Are you still planning to go?
Oh, for sure. I respect her decision. That's her prerogative to make her decision on her political message. But from our message, the Métis want to make sure we sit down with the Pope. My objective, clearly, loud and clear, is to ask the Pope to come to this country. And I heard many First Nations at the same time also say they want the Pope to come here and apologize, not from the Papal or from St. Peter's coming out and apologizing, and we echo it across the ocean to our homes. We're hoping the Pope will come here. That'll be one of the fundamental things I'll be pushing. And again, we do have strong concerns from many of our citizens regarding the closures of our churches. The churches are slowly coming to an end in some of our villages, and our people really know that they need them. And so I'll be raising the question, where's the plan for the churches in our villages, in our communities, if the Vatican's not financially supporting them?
All right, President Chartrand, we'll leave it there. I want to thank you for taking a few minutes to speak with us today.
Well, thank you for the few minutes.
We want to hear what you think about the MMS priorities and the upcoming federal election. Here's how to continue the conversation. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca or leave a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. We need to step aside for a short break, but still to come, we'll update you on the COVID situation in Nunavut and Alberta, and don't forget about our debate coverage next week.
Live from Gatineau. Don't miss the federal leaders debate. Trudeau, O'Toole, Blanchette, Singh, Paul. The party leaders face off about Canada and its future. The federal leaders debate. Commercial free. Thursday, September 9.
Welcome back. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, Nunavut has had several long stretches when there were no positive cases in the territory. Another one of those streaks ended today. Nunavut's health department announced that there is a positive case of COVID-19 in Rankin Inlet. This is the first positive case for the territory since late June. In a press release, the department stated that the person had COVID-19 symptoms before boarding a plane to Rankin Inlet and has since been flown to a southern hospital. They haven't said what variant of COVID was discovered or the vaccination status of the infected person. Alberta reported more than 1,300 new COVID-19 cases Thursday. This comes as Premier Jason Kenney is being criticized for being missing in action.
I know some people were apparently angry that I took a bit of personal time, but I don't do that much. I mean, as I say, I think it's the second time I've taken what I would call extended period off, like a couple of weeks, since 2015.
Health officials say new cases occurred in unvaccinated Albertans at a rate more than 5 times higher than those who are fully immunized. The Delta variant also continues to fuel hospitalizations, with more than 480 Albertans admitted. A man has been charged for setting a Calgary residential school memorial on fire. On August 3rd, security cameras caught this man setting fire to the display on the steps of Calgary City Hall. Tips from the public helped police identify and find him. The accused has not been named publicly because of possible mental and medical health challenges. Meanwhile, a candidate in Calgary's civic election says the Indigenous community has been asking for a permanent memorial since 2017.
We need to ground the ambiguous loss in the community, especially now that these children are being found. And number 2, we need an educational piece for the future. So those are the 2 major things. With regards to the vandalism and everything else that's been going on, and what it does come down to is this wouldn't have happened today if we listened then.
Dozens of Yukon wildland firefighters returned home yesterday after fighting fires in British Columbia for the last 3 weeks. The Yukon sent the firefighters to Kamloops on August 16th. The Yukon First Nations wildfire organization made up most of the crew. Extreme hot and dry conditions triggered BC's call for help. Terrell Janier is one of the firefighters. He says it was rewarding to help the territory's southern neighbor.
It was my first deployment out of the Yukon, so just that itself makes it pretty exciting for me. And knowing that there was so many fires there and being able to help out, it really...
We need to take one final break, but still ahead, the province of Manitoba will recognize the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation as a stat holiday. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Our photo today is a gathering of cousins with their papas on a beautiful sunny day along Campbell River in British Columbia, the ancestral home of the Wew'wachum people. During the weekend, be sure to submit a photo to share at aptn.ca for the chance to be featured next week as our photo of the day. And now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting in the east, 15 and rain in St. John's and 14 and rain in Charlottetown. 14 and sunshine in Nain and 18 in the Grand River. 22 and a mix of sun and cloud in Quebec City and 21 in Val d'Or. 24 and a mix of sun and cloud in Toronto and 25 in London. 20 degrees and rain in Timmins and 19 and rain in Sioux Lookout. Rain and 10 in Churchill and rain and 15 in Norway House. 21 and rain in Dauphin and 18 in Barons River. Sunshine and 24 in North Battleford and 23 in Estevan. 19 and sunshine in Uranium City and 19 and rain in Buffalo Narrows. In the west, 23 in sunshine in High Level and 25 in sun in Peace River. Sun and 23 in Red Deer and 25 in Lethbridge. 23 and rain in Kamloops and 20 in rain in Quesnel. Rain and 13 in Dease Lake and 20 in a mix of sun and cloud in Fort Nelson. Raining and 13 in Old Crow and rain in 13 in Rock River. 19 in a mix of sun and cloud in Yellowknife and 23 in Fort Simpson. 16 degrees and rain in Colville Lake and 13 in Fort McPherson. 14 in Cambridge Bay and sun and 10 in Chesterfield. -5 in Resolute and -1 in Arctic Bay. Unlike Alberta, the province of Manitoba will recognize the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation as a stat holiday. There will be no school and provincial government offices will shut down. Events will be held throughout the month of September to learn about Indigenous stories. Indigenous Reconciliation and Northern Relations Minister Alan Lagimodier says it's an important opportunity. We all have a role to play in reconciliation. We can all listen, learn, and support the healing needed to address the intergenerational trauma caused by the residential school system. And some sad news to pass along tonight. Kyle Kematch, one of the founders of an organization that searches Manitoba's waterways for missing and murdered people, has passed away. Kematch was one of the organizers of Drag the Red, a volunteer group in Winnipeg, started in 2014, 1 month after Tina Fontaine's body was pulled from the Red River. Many of the volunteers were searching for missing loved ones as well, including Kematch. His sister Amber Gibosh vanished in 2010. A gathering to honor Kematch will be held on the banks of the Red River next week. Kematch was 39. And our condolences and best wishes go out to Kematch's family. That's all we have for you on this Friday edition of APTN National News. For more news, you can visit our website at aptn.ca. I'm Daryl Stranger. Thank you for joining us.